She told me, it's just grass. Minutes later her car was buried in it. The sound of 3 tons of German engineering hitting the earth wasn't a crash. It was a thump-squelch, a heavy, wet, sickening noise that vibrated through the floorboards of my living room and rattled the porcelain figurines my late wife had collected for 40 years. I didn't jump. I didn't run to the window. I sat in my leather armchair, took a slow, deliberate sip of my Earl Grey tea, and smiled. It was 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. School pickup time. The witching hour for my corner lot. Outside, the screaming started almost immediately. What the hell? What did you do to my car? I recognized the voice instantly. It was Brenda. Of course it was Brenda. The woman who treated the traffic laws like suggestions and my front lawn like her personal express lane. I set my tea down on the coaster. I stood up, adjusting my cardigan, and walked to the front door. I didn't rush. I wanted to savor the moment. I opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The scene before me was a masterpiece of physics and karma. Brenda's pristine, pearl-white Mercedes G-Wagon, a vehicle that cost more than my first house, was not on the road. It was not on the driveway. It was nose down in my front garden, sunk up to the headlights in a pit of what looked like decorative pine straw but was actually a meticulously engineered abyss. The rear wheels were spinning uselessly in the air, throwing clods of mud onto the sidewalk. The front bumper was crumpled against the hidden retaining wall I had buried 4 feet down. Brenda was scrambling out of the driver's side door, her Louboutin heel sinking into the soft earth. She looked like a furious, muddy flamingo. You, she shrieked, pointing a manicured finger at me. You psycho. You dug a hole. You tried to kill me. Afternoon, Brenda, I called out, leaning against the railing. Looks like you took the corner a little wide today. Bit soft out there after the rain, isn't it? It's a trap, she screamed, her face turning a violent shade of purple that clashed with her silk scarf. I'm calling the police. I'm calling the city. My husband is going to have your house condemned. Do you know how much this bumper costs? I imagine it's expensive, I said calmly, but probably less than the fine you're about to get for contaminating a federally protected watershed research site. She froze. What? You're standing in an experimental bioretention cell, Brenda, and that oil leaking from your engine, that's a federal crime. To understand why I dug a 4-foot pit in my own front yard, you have to understand the geography of my life. I live on the corner of Oak and Elm, directly adjacent to St. Jude's Preparatory Academy. Every afternoon, a line of luxury SUVs snakes around the block, filled with parents waiting to pick up their children. Most parents wait. They sit in the queue. They follow the rules. But not Brenda. Brenda drives a G-Wagon. In her mind, traffic laws are for poor people. For 6 months, she had been cutting the corner. Instead of waiting at the stop sign, she would jump the curb, drive across the corner of my lawn, leaving deep, muddy ruts in my zoysia grass, and merge back into the line ahead of the peasants. I tried to be nice. I asked her to stop. She laughed. It's just grass, Wesley, she had sneered, blowing cigarette smoke out her window. It grows back. Don't be so dramatic. So, I installed boulders. Big, heavy river rocks right on the corner. 2 days later, I got a letter from the city. Violation notice. Unauthorized obstruction of right-of-way. Traffic hazard. Brenda's husband, it turned out, was on the city council. He pulled strings. He claimed my boulders were a visual obstruction and a danger to public safety. I was forced to remove them or face a lien on my property. Brenda drove by the next day as I was hauling the rocks away. She slowed down. She rolled down her window. Told you, she winked. Don't mess with the big dogs, Wesley. Then, she gunned it. She drove right over the fresh dirt where the boulders had been, spinning her tires, spraying mud onto my porch. That was the moment. That was the snap. What happens in the next hour isn't just a traffic stop, it is the collision of local corruption and federal bureaucracy. By the time the hazmat team arrives, Brenda won't just be worried about her car, she's going to be facing a bill that could bankrupt a small business. But the real twist? It's not just the money. It's what my security cameras recorded her saying right before she hit the gas. That single sentence is about to turn her insurance claim into a confession. To watch full story, kindly follow on screen instructions.